All right, hey, welcome to another edition of JTJU, where we all try to be just a little better at the game of Clash of Clans. I've got a video today that's going to kind of talk about something that's been around in the game for quite a while, and that's the concept of .5 upgrades. Town halls that you get to a certain level and you don't build any defenses, you just build, or you don't build very many at all, and or especially the core ones like Expos at Town Hall 9, Infernos Town Hall 10, Eagles at Town Hall 11. You leave those none built and instead focus on offensive upgrades. And what we're trying to figure out is whether or not that behavior of using, having clashes in your clan with .5 really helps your clan. One, does it make it, matches within, average, range, average wars, rate, the wards that Clan Wars sets up for you. Even and in arranged wars, even, is it helpful? And then we'll kind of look at, I guess to explain that, first we'll say, well, what makes an even match, right? So we'll look at the parameters, and I'm going through the agenda now. But we'll say, well, what makes an even match for wars, typically? And then what's the goal specifically against those of a .5? How are they trying to shift the even match to a favor of a certain clan? Then we'll look at a specific war that JTJ just completed against a pretty well accomplished clan that was running 8 out of a war of 35. 8 of their clashes were .5. We can look at that as an example of some of the points we want to raise, which is one, if you're gonna do it, is it worth it? So we'll kind of first talk about what are the keys that you want to see out of your .5s. If you are running .5s in your clan, or you have it, what are you expecting from them? Because they're giving certain things up by running a .5 setup. So what do you expect out of them offensively to make it worthwhile? And then we'll look at the war itself to kind of highlight that and say, do the .5 clashers overall and in the war that we're going to look at do better or worse offensively? And the same question defensively. And then lastly, we'll take a look at something that's kind of less heard about, the build cancel concept in war, which is kind of like a subset of .5 behavior. When you're running .5, again, you don't have the key defensive structures built. That lowers your weight in matchmaking, matches you with weaker opponents, right, defensively, and then you can have huge offense and get an advantage. But what build cancelers do is they'll come in and actually build out a defense on prep day, like anybody can, and that pops up immediately on the war map, even if it's not been completed on your village, right? So it's still being built, but it shows up immediately in war. And then during war or right after war, then they cancel the build on their village map and repeat the process so they can continually have that lower weight when they match and then get rid of it and get the advantage back of the defense during the war. So we'll talk about build cancel a little bit. And then we'll summarize, look at whether an average clan should run .5s in theory, and should a fair play clan do it. And we'll also talk about, the build cancel within that. So maybe let's put the build cancel there as a note, but and then we'll close out with what JTJ stance is. So with that said, let's first look at what makes a war an even match, right? So what we think the biggest driver of fair, and you'll see it on our war log, we always notate like Town Hall 10 plus 1, meaning we have an extra Town Hall 10. I won't put it on the agenda. Let me put it over here in this note so you can just see the agenda at all times. But we think Town Hall count being equal is important. And that's where, if I have 2 Town Hall 11s, the enemy should have 2 Town Hall 11s. If they have 3, it's harder for me because, one, I'm going to have to ask my 2 Town Hall 11s to close out an extra Town Hall 11 base, whereas their Town Hall 11s only have to close out 2, right? So they have an extra Town Hall 11 attack down to 10, and that's an easier attack for them, and so on. It waterfalls down through the map. So we track, for a long time we've been tracking in JTJ, whether or not in each war did we have advantage at 11, 10, 9. We typically don't worry about 8 because 8 takes care of itself. But at 11, 10, 9, we try to check whether or not did we have an advantage or not. But specifically the ones we really worry about when we look at a war is like, holy cow, are we grossly not even on Town Hall count at 11 or 10? And if they're not a rush base and they're still matched to us with extras, that's a problem. So that's one. The other things that people might throw out to say, well, what's fair is weighting. So when you look at your weight, that's the amount of gold that you're offered, is a simple way of looking at it. When you look at a war and you see what people attack you, if a peer at your level, like if you're a Town Hall 9 and a Town Hall 9 attacks you, the amount of gold you're offering in the war, that's your weight. divided, just so like it's 108,000 gold or whatever, that's 108 is the weight. But anyway, the matchmaking system ideally wants every, so if you're doing a 35 on 35 war, they want every position to be the same weight, ideally, right? And so then what the matchmaking system is trying to resolve is like no clan's going to have everyone match exactly, so they're trying to get like maybe one different, like so if your 12th guy is a Town Hall 9 and he's running in a weight of 85, they want the other guys directly opposite him to be like 84 or maybe 86, right? So an even war would show you all those weights, if you added them up, might be in the range of 1 to 2%, 3% difference. Because again, like 88 is, you have to add it like, so, you know, one difference on 88 is 1% difference on 88 would be 0.8. So, like I said, yeah, anyway, you get it. So they want that to be about a 1% difference, but you know, you see some wars where it gets up to like 5%, 6% difference, and you can still win those. It depends again on how I think there's other parameters that Supercell uses for matching, but you can still win those ones where the weights are getting more skewed, like 6%, 7%, and so we see it usually range from somewhere between 7% against you to 7% in your advantage as the typical one. And lastly, probably the least impactful, these are listed in order, is the royal level. So you can compare whether or not the royals at each position are equal or similar, and kind of look for similar heroes. But what we really worry about is making sure that we have enough clashers at each Town Hall level that are at a critical mass. And we say critical mass in Town Hall 10, for example. At 11, we think is around 30-30. Town Hall 10, it's around 25-25. Town Hall 9, critical mass is 15-15, meaning if you have that level heroes and you go against the max base, you do have a shot at 3-star. Your heroes can do the job that they're assigned to do with that power level. It's going to be harder, but it's possible. We see it happen. So that's kind of where we put royals at. So those three things make a war an even match. But let's go back again to, with that in mind, let's go back again to, well, switching now to the next point. What's the goal of a .5? So if I'm a .5, what are they trying to do against those even matching concepts? They want to create an advantage on Town Hall count, primarily. So if they are running 4 Town Hall 9 or Town Hall 8.5s, they want to see those 4 ideally have mirrors that are Town Hall 8. They want to have them hitting down, nuking is what we call it. That's the goal. So they might have only 2 do it, or 3 out of the 4 do it, whatever. And then the same case for a 9.5. They would like to see that 9.5, who's really a Town Hall 10 without Infernos, matched to a 9, and because then they can get the extra spells, the extra camp space, and all their stuff to hit a max 9 and have higher odds of 3. Right? So they're really, the .5 phenomenon is all about trying to impact Town Hall counts at the biggest level, right? By manipulation of weight. And I'll show you that in a minute when we look at the case study war. But it doesn't really, it's not really trying to impact the royal match and all. It's really all about this, trying to get the Town Hall counts different to where you have more of the other clan does at your Town Hall level. Now in terms of the case study war, let me show you what I was talking about here. Let's see if I still have it up. Oh, hang on, did I lose it? No, I didn't. Here it is. Okay, reloading the game. Hang on. Yes, it's still Christmas. There we go. Beautiful base there. The war itself that we're talking about is this guy. So we won, right? So this is in the case of sour grapes. But let's see, view map. What I want to show you is that the basic concept that I mentioned earlier is they had 8.5s. I guess let's look at it this way. So one of their Town Hall 11s, this candidate Joe, was running a 10.5. So it was a Town Hall 11 without an eagle. All 3 of their Town Hall 10s, these guys here, 3 through 5, were 9.5s, no eye towers. And then down in their Town Hall 9 category, their bottom Town Hall 9s, starting with Travis here and up to Rex, were all Town Hall 8.5s, no expos. And we don't run .5 in JTJ. I guess that goes all the way in. You can already know my answer for that. But this will help you understand why. And actually an advice to Shadow Milita about why they shouldn't. I don't think it's helping them. It does overall. I mean, Shadow Milita had won 73 wars in a row before they played us. And they're a good clan. You can see that they didn't just win these on this. They came over, talked with us. They got on our, war stream together. So they're good guys. They know how to play. But I think it's actually not helping them as much as they think. It helps them when they're matched up against weaker clans. But again, we'll get into that later. But this is the example war that I want to kind of look at. So the question I want to ask is, first off, when you look at this war, and you want to ask yourself, is it fair? Remember, let's go back to the questions. Is it fair in terms of town hall count? So this war, if I flipped up a thing, here are our town hall 11s. They had one extra one, right? So they had and that's what that 10.5 tells you right there. So they had one extra town hall 11. So they're getting that waterfall effect of 2 attacks down on town hall 10 that are more powerful, enabling quicker close of town hall 10, which in effect would waterfall down into town hall 9. So basically 2 attacks should waterfall down all the way through town hall 9. We're even on town hall 10, setting aside the one that's matched against an 11. We're even on town hall 10, and then our town hall 9s, they actually have an extra town hall 9. So in terms of the goal that the .5 theory is supposed to do, they're achieving it, right? They got an extra town hall 11, they got an extra town hall 9. Now granted, they probably wanted more, right? They're running 8, they got 2, so they got 25% on town hall count advantage. And really they got 1 in the category that mattered. They really would probably have rather had more town hall 10 extra, like out of the 4 in town hall 11 and 10, they probably would have liked to have 2, maybe 3. But they got 1, right? So that creates that waterfall of attacks down. And weight-wise, it's kind of interesting. Their initial reaction in post-war commentary was, they felt like they were kind of off, they were underweighted versus the war. And an average, right? They're right. The weight, if you add up all the weight differences, that's the delta between position of weights. 36 was the net. But if you take a look at it in aggregate and add up the weights in total, and then say how far off were we, it's only like 1.5% or so. So that's actually in our range. It's, again, remember, -7 to 7 is usually the range of match we're seeing. Badly matched wars about 5-7% against us, like they're overweighted, whereas this war was 1.5%. So really, the war overall was pretty fairly weighted. As far as not an arranged war, just we got matched together. So you could say that this war actually, in terms of weight, wasn't bad, right? So we'll put that down. So there you go. But in terms of royals, which is what they were also concerned about, they felt like we had a little bit more horsepower on the royal category. I'd say it was fair, but I'm going to give us slight advantage. I mean, the point that they're making is that right here, you see the king queen. We have 13 extra levels on the king queen within this. A lot of it's being made up of this one candidate right here. But notice how both these guys, as I mentioned before, 15-18, while 26-30 does make it a little easier for him, 15-18 is a viable king queen level to get the work done. 16-20, again, here's one of their bigger ones, against 25-25, harder but viable. Can do the job, right? It's not like you need 25-25 to take out a max to base. It's just easier. So I'll give them a slight advantage to that, but they're the ones running the .5, not us. so you can't really be getting too cranky about it. And then lastly, I would say, we already covered it, but let me put it in there. Fair in terms of the town hall count. Sorry, I didn't put the notes down, but there's the notes for that. No, it wasn't, right? So they had the extra one on point on town hall 11, and their extra one on town hall 9 where they're hitting an 8. We don't really feel that is like a huge advantage because our 8s always close themselves. So, having an extra town hall 9 match, having their one town hall 9 match an 8. All right, well our 8's gonna, the only thing it does create for them is like R8 hitting back across. So again, look at the map. So when R8, R27, which is an 8, or no, R27, which is an 8, tries to hit their 27, which is a 9, it is a little harder, right? Because he's got slightly upgraded things. He's got a queen in his base. It's a little harder for the 8 to hit across. So that is an advantage for them. But it's less concerning to us versus the waterfall hit down. Because wars, and when you got two good clans facing off, we typically assume Town Hall 9 is going to close by themselves or with slight support of nuking from 10 and 11. Town Hall 8 closes by itself. So really wars are resolved by 1 or 2 open bases at Town Hall 9 or by percent destruction or 1 star up at Town Hall 10. So having a hit down in Town Hall 11 is a big deal. Right? So the biggest thing to us is all about the Town Hall count. So when you look at that war, it's like, all right, so they're running .5, they kind of got an advantage, but did they get the advantage that you see on paper, right? Because they got the Town Hall count advantage and the weight. And so to answer that, well, let's first look at whether, if you're doing it, what should you be looking for out of your clashers? And first, out of the Town Hall 10 group, the 10.5s as it were, the Town Hall 11s with no eagle, right? What we want to see out of them is you need to see them 2-starring easily a Town Hall 10 or an 11, and 3-starring potentially your Town Hall 10s, right? Because if a Town Hall 11, if you're running a .5, if you're a 10.5, and you're only delivering nukes on Town Hall 10 at 2-star with similar destruction, why are you doing it, right? Because you are defensively weaker as a Town 11, so the pure level Town Hall 10, Town 11 attacks against you will have higher odds of 2-starring or not missing. So you have to be producing something, either really high destruction when you hit Town Hall 10, or you have to be producing like a 3-star occasionally when you hit Town Hall 10. That's one of the goals, right? So if you don't see that coming out of your Town Hall 10.5, you should be saying, why are we doing it, right? The next group would be the 9.5, so that would be your Town Hall 10s running no Infernos, right? And so our stance there would be kind of similar, right? Their job, the reason why they exist, is not so much to, they need to consistently get 2 stars on Town Hall 10 if they have to, but they also have to get 3 stars when they hit Town Hall 9s, when they nuke down. And the reason why when I say consistently, and that applies to the Town Hall 10.5s too, consistently because their defenses enable consistency from the attackers on them, right? So they're giving up easy stars, right? Not many attacks are required to get the gold stars for, like a Town Hall 11, the attackers on a .5 Town Hall 11 probably will get it the first attack. They'll get 2 stars, they're done. They're moving on, they're using their next attack to hit down. But a non.5 Town 11 might survive an attack and require a second, reducing the number of nuke downs that occur, creating a disadvantage for the team that lost that attack or an advantage for the one that bled them, that removed one of the attacks. So, when you look at 9.5 and 11, when you look at 9.5 and 10.5, you really want to see them delivering something that the group they're nuking into couldn't do on their own. Because if they're not, you're like, what am I doing? And so as you move down, the value of .5 becomes less and less, because if you go down to the worst case, right, so Town Hall 8.5s, right, remember, the biggest advantage is the Town Hall difference, but if you're facing a clan that closes out Town Hall 8 all by themselves, what's the value of having a bunch of 8.5 sitting there outside of that's harder for the 8 to hit across, right? But remember, even though it's harder for the 8 to hit across, it's super simple for a Town Hall 9 to 3-star an 8.5 because they have no expos. It's just like, well, it looks like a Town Hall 8. And I'll show you when we look at the war. I'll compare these notes to the actual war. We'll look at each one and say, did they or did they not hit these goals, right? But the big theme is on all .5s, what you want to see out of them is they need to deliver basically what the level below them cannot do. Because if they can do that, then that gives you an advantage against the clans overall. So let's look at the war itself. Now, did in this war, as an example, did the .5 clashers do better or worse offensively versus their mirrors? So let's look at the Town Hall 10.5s, the 11s, first. And so let me paste my notes here for that. So there's my 11 notes, right? If you want to look at it right there. So I'm going to say no. They had one 3-star, which was a nuke. So one of their attacks from 11 shot down and hit a Town Hall 10 or actually hit a 9 and nuked it. But so, you know, my first question was like, well, why didn't the 9s do that? And if they didn't do it, why didn't the 10s do that? But the other attack that this Town Hall 10.5 did was an attempted nuke on 10, and it got a 2-star, right? So I'm talking about this position right here. So you can see I say got a 2-star and a 3-star. Both were nukes. One was a nuke on 9. I can clarify that a little bit, I guess. This was a nuke on 10, and this was a nuke on 9, right? So the 2 was on 10, and the 3 was on a 9. But in both cases, is he doing something that the town halls at that target level can't do? Can 9s not 3-star their peer town halls? 80%, 60% of the time they can, so he's giving them about a 60, you know, some value. There's some value in that 1 3-star, but the fact that he missed on the second one, on the 10, giving a 2, you know, a Town Hall 10 can do the same thing. Why wouldn't he have just used that on a Town Hall 9 if he had to? But then he's, again, it's like, well, it's really questionable value. Really what he wanted to see was 2 3-stars, because remember, his peer, like the way he looked to me in this war, I hit both these bases. He looked with an Eagle 1. It was difficult, right? But I was able to 2-star him for the first attack. So I would say, you know, kind of helped, kind of didn't help. Let's look at the 9.5s, which are Town Hall 10s with no Infernos. So in this category, the other one just had 1. But in this category, we've got 3. And there's some, I'll talk about defensively here in a minute. I'll talk about the build cancel then, I guess. Or I'll look at build cancel in that category there. But Town Hall 9.5 for them, they had 6 attacks, right? So when you look at this, I'm talking about these three candidates, right? 3, 4, and 5 position. Had 6 attacks between them, right? And only 1 3-star was achieved nuking a Town Hall 9. Otherwise, they produced 2 2-stars and 3 1-stars. So while you got the 3-star, and that's good, you do need some nuke support from Town Hall 10 into 9. So I'd say that, but do you need to be a .5 to deliver that? I'd say no, right? A regular protected Town Hall 10 could do the same nuke action. So remember, what he wanted to see was one of the Town Hall 10s being mismatched and actually having like a Town Hall 9 here where he gets the defensive value going across, and the Town Hall 9 hitting a 10 is hard, and he also makes it almost impossible, hard for a 3, for a 9 to 10 in early stage, 9 to 3-star in early stage 10. It's pretty difficult, but he also gets the attack advantage going down. So he didn't get that in the war, so they're kind of stuck, right? And so they end up producing pretty much what looks like, right, what Town Hall 10s would produce. 1 3-star from a nuke on Town Hall 9. Town Hall 10s can do that. 2 2-stars on a Town Hall 10s. Town Hall 10s can do that. And 3 1-stars. Well, definitely, Town Hall 10s can 1-star Town Hall 10s, right? So what was the value achieved from those 3 clashers in the Town Hall 10 position as .5s when they're giving up and not having Infernos, right? Making it easy for the attackers to hit on them. I don't think there is one, right? You know, if you're facing a good clan, and I guess that's where we'll, you know, as we talk, you know, maybe when I get down to should you run it, really the question of where Town Hall .5 theory works is if you're an average clan and you're facing average clans, because average clans will miss hits on your naked .5 defenses. They won't achieve max stars because you're naked. But a good clan will fresh hit that, take it, and then they'll use those extra attacks to hit up, and sometimes they'll go above gold stars. Like they'll, instead of getting 2, they'll get 3 at Town Hall 10, making your problem even worse. Let's look at the 8.5. So they also had 4 8.5s, one of which they actually achieved their goal and was matched against the Town Hall 8. Again, I don't think there's any value in that from terms of hit down, because they, you know, our Town Hall 8s close themselves. Now, as far as hitting up, the Town Hall 8 that he was matched with couldn't do it, right? He couldn't, you know, he's not going to take out what is this? What level queen does he have? A level 8 queen and a 15 king sitting inside the camps with all that other extra stuff they have. He's not going to be able to hit across and take that mirror out. But it's not unusual for, you know, how many attacks do we have here? Look at the total attacks that are available. I'm going to do the row count is what I'm doing. We have 21 attacks, 42 attacks were available, right? So if a clan is good and it closes efficiently, meaning only misses, you know, if they miss half their attacks, they have enough to cover everything. If they're hitting more than 50% close rate, they're going to have excess attacks and be able to cover these Town Hall 8s or these Town Hall 8.5s that are hanging out by themselves waiting for somebody to hit down, and they'll do it first hit because no expos. It looks like a Town Hall 8. So the fact that they had 3, and then the results were basically 6 1-stars on Pier or 2-stars. So with a 1-star or 2-star, because goal in Town Hall 9 is 3, so 1 or 2 is the same thing, same value. So if they had 6 out of their 8 attacks delivering 1 or 2-star, not getting goal, and they had 1 3-star, which was a nuke on a Town Hall 8, which they don't really need, and they had one attack they didn't even use. I guess that was in garbage time. They're like, forget it, I don't want to attack anymore. What did they gain, right? So what did they really get out of that .5 group when the matchup like this matches to their disadvantage? Let's look at the defensive stats, right? This is where, you know, common sense tells you this isn't going to be good for .5s. Well, let's look at it, because I think you need to, if you're running .5s in your clan, you need to understand why the .5s really are causing you issues that you can't even see. But I'll give it to you. I'll give you this fact. I will give you that common sense tells you that it's going to be worse, but it doesn't tell you it's going to lose you the war. First thing I'd say is to look at how many attacks are being absorbed by in the positions that the .5s live in. So in this case, let's start with these, right? Whoops, didn't want to do that. Hold on. Whoops, come on, come back. There you go. So you want to look at number of absorbs. That's what these stats are. So I'm telling you what the final result was, 2 stars or 3 stars, how many hits it took, and whether it was a peer attack for P or a nuke. So this is our column, this is their column in the position. So as you look at that, notice that they didn't even close all 4 of our peers that are in the .5 category for Town Hall 9. They struggled after 2 attacks to get a close. They weren't even done. They were at least going to go to 3 attacks in this thing. The other thing you'll notice that every one of our bases had required 2 hits from peer level or nuke to get closed. Right? Every one of them. So we absorbed 8 attacks, right? Whereas their bases, look, 1, 1, 1, 1. Fresh hits, all 3. Now this guy actually did all right. So that was actually a, you know, they would, if you were a .5 zealot, you'd be like, look at that right there. 3 attacks were absorbed. I told you it works. So in this case it did work, but overall, and on average, when you play .5s, you're going to see that the number of attacks that it takes to close the base is less than what your enemy clan is taking to close those guys on your side. And what that does is gives your enemy that amount more attacks at that peer level. And more attacks for the enemy is bad for you. And so in this case, we walked away with 3. And if you have, I think to compare them apples to apples, you have to add on at least 1 more attack here, assuming it closed, right? So in effect, it took 6 plus 3, 9, and this guy ended up with 6. So we had 3 attacks that were left to clear this, right? So those attacks were then used up to hit like maybe a 2-star attack, get a scout, maybe get a close out of it, enabling these attacks that are actually in the group to have less to deal with. Whereas these guys, their defense, they had to actually find other ways to solve the problem. They lost. They had to use the goal of a number of bleeds, as we call it. We shoot for having at least 2 bleeds on a base, if not more, and they hit those goals, right? So these bases absorbed as many attacks as their mirrors had. Their mirrors did not walk out of there with more attacks left to shoot up with. So again, it's a wash, right? So if you have good base design, if you faced a good clan and you're running .5, if you can't walk out of your .5 matchup with more attacks than the enemy, or at least equal to the enemy, the whole advantage you had about having more attacks with mismatch, it's gone. They're gone. They've been used up. So defensively, I would say absolutely not. It is important to understand, and this is my summary of notes if you want to go back and as I jabber about the next point. Here's what I just said. About how the 3 stars were eliminated, hitting across. But let's go to another point. The build cancel. This clan actually did something that I don't usually see. It's more rare. But let's reload the game and I can show it to you. It's called build cancel. And so as a .5s, you have, let's go to the map. As .5s, like this is one that did a build cancel. When you scout it, you're going to come into the war. When this guy first came into the war, there was no eagle. That's right. That's what was missing. No eagle on the map. So I was like, holy cow, I might have a shot at 3-starring this because I'm not awesome. I'll tell you right now. 3-starring and me at Town Hall 10, 11 is about as common as ice in hell. That's when it happens. But when I saw that no eagle, I was like, maybe. So I was all excited. But then on build day, he built the eagle, which is fine, right? So the eagle shows up on the map. It's there immediately. He doesn't have to finish it on the village. It's still running. But the cancel part then happened later, which we suspected would. Let's go ahead and take a gander here. So this is Joe's current village. And notice no eagle being built, right? So what they're doing is basically, as wars cycle in arranged wars, they're trying to maintain their weight advantage, right? So they basically go into the match system without the eagle. If the war is tight, put down the eagle, have it show up on the war map, and then when the war is going, or right after the war, cancel the build on the village so you can do it again if you need to, right? So they use it as a little trick device, right? And they also did it at, they also did it with one of their, I think it was this guy. Yeah, with a boo, right? So he has eye towers here on the map, right? But again, if we go to, where's the clan castle? Right in the middle, my friend. But if you go to his current base and visit his current village, the happy land of Abu Obadiah, notice, no eye towers. So he canceled those. Now, I think, it's interesting when you say build cancel. So that's, I've just told you what it is. Let me put that note up there in case you were couldn't track me. Here's what it meant. Here's what I just said. That's what build cancel is. But the question is whether or not it helps you, right, doing it. And notice they did it at 11, so for their 10.5, and they did it with their 9.5, Town Hall 10. But we didn't see it at 8.5, and here's why, right? I would say, when you look at 8.5, and if you did a build cancel, throw up an expo and then get rid of it, is that really going to stop a fresh hit from rolling you? For all of you that remember Town Hall 9, a level 1 expo is not a scary thing, right? You can probably, your golems from Town Hall 8 can tank it. You can do what you got to do. I've seen Town Hall 8s that actually take out entry-level Town Hall 9s with level 1 expos with properly placed golems. Granted, the base was poorly laid out, but the point is that it can absorb the damage and you can get it done. So no, I don't really think build cancel is helping you if you do Town Hall 8.5s. So them throwing down expos, they do add the advantage of, like, if you're trying to force, like, let's say you're envisioning your .5s is like, I do 4 of them, I'm hoping that 2 of them are matched against 9s, but 2 of them are matched against 8s, and so those 8s can't really hit across because 8s against an expo probably isn't going to be easy, even though I mentioned one that did happen, but it was bad base design. But you have a good base design, the expos are set up properly, 8's not going to get it. So it forces the 9s to come down. So it could, it's somewhat of an advantage, but it's not like going to impact the war, right? You're not creating a scenario that you're not going to be like able to get a 3-star on that base because of the fact that you threw down the expos. It didn't switch from, oh, that base is a 3-star to, oh, that base is a 3-star. Because in both cases, whether you threw down the expos or you don't throw down the expos, the goal of the base will still be 3-star no matter what happens. However, when you look at 9.5s, which is a Town Hall 10 not running Infernos, and you talk build cancel, right? That actually can impact war, right? Because when you look at a base as a Town Hall 10, and you look across the field at your peer, and he doesn't have an Inferno, you're thinking, I can 3-star that, right? Because Infernos are the bane of what you know, if a Town Hall 9 is upgrades to 10, and you know the only differences are some, you know, an additional expos thrown down, some other stuff, you can still, with your extra spell, extra troop space, higher level heroes, you can handle that additional defensive stuff as long as the Infernos aren't there. Once you add the Infernos, that really changes Town Hall 10 from a 3-star game most of the time. I'm not talking about you guys that are really awesome and 3-star Town Hall 10s like it's, you know, falling out of bed. I'm talking about us average people. For us, you know, if the Infernos go down, it's a 2-star type category, maybe 60-70% on average. But if you throw the Infernos in there, it's probably not going to be a 3-star. You know, you might occasionally a Blue Moon get one. But the Infernos really change the game from 2 to 3. And so in that case, doing build cancel truly is impacting the game. It's really changing the max star potential for an average team, even a, you know, a pretty structured team like JTJ, by probably a star, as much as a star, because you know you go from potentially getting a 3 down to probably only going to get a 2, right? And the same could be said for Town Hall 11 that are running .5, so Town Hall 10.5s. They, with the Eagle, find that, you know, and there's my notes for that. So when you put down that Eagle, and especially with this patch coming out next week where Eagles do 3 times damage against Golems, and Golems are the primary attack strategy against Town Hall 11s, you know, if without the Eagle, you look like a 10, right? And I've got the Warden. So I can, you know, do that, you know, do the ability and basically lock out every defense for 4 seconds, 5 seconds while you can't burn me, can't do anything. Plus I've got level 3 witches. I got all these advantages. I could probably have a shot at the 3 as an average to above average clasher. Not the God mode where those guys are doing really well and 3-star everything. I'm just talking about like guys like me. I could maybe have a shot at 3-star if you don't have that Eagle down as a Town Hall 11. But you throw that Eagle down, even at level 1, it really changes the game. I have to change and attack that Eagle. I have to take it out. I have to do shaping of the attack to move around it. You know, it's a whole different perspective of what's got to be done. So my stance would be, it does help you if you're trying to manipulate the game. Build cancels can definitely, you know, add somewhere between 1 to 2 stars to your team, depending on how many guys do it. Each one you do build cancel, if it's a 9.5 or a 10.5, could add up to a star shift in your team. And so, do you really want to do that? I mean, it's like, oh, I don't know. But it definitely has impact. And then just the percentages of how often that enemy team looking at your base without the Eagle or without the Inferno, that's where it's like, well, you can't just say it's like I'm giving you a 1-star. But it's definitely unlike like a, you know, the .5 discussion down at Town Hall 9, where no matter you do it or not, you're going to 3-star that base. So it's not really like I'm going from 3 to 3. Who cares? But when you're going from, like, when I look at it there, it's a 2-star. And now I look at it and I'm like, I might get a 3 on that. That's a big difference, right? So the last, I mean, that's really from the war. So then, I guess to sum it up, so should an average clan run a .5, right? I would say maybe would be my answer to you. I do think, I used to think it didn't matter at all. I thought it was stupid and that it would cause you to always have a disadvantage. I was wrong. Here's where it is an advantage. When you're facing clans that their average clasher is average or below, right? Where they can't take advantage of the weak defense that you're offering as a .5, right? Where they, for example, you saw how I showed you, we took their 4 Town Hall 8.5s and we fresh hit 3 of them, bang, 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 causing an attack advantage. When they can't do that, a less than average clan doesn't do that, then you've got this huge advantage because defensively you're holding out. I've heard .5s tell me, oh man, I can't, my queen plus Town Hall 8.5 defense, you Town Hall 9s can't even take me down. Well, that's what you're saying is you're facing clans that have a lower skill level and they struggle with just that, like probably are struggling to close Town Hall 9s in general, right? So you're just in that same category. They struggle to close Town Hall 9s in general. But when you face, so if that's your goals, like you just want an advantage as an average clan, I suck, and come on, help me out, I just want to do Z85, then yes, it will give you 80%, 90% of the time, you'll be matched up with a clan, and you'll get that shift of where your .5 group, some of them will be matched against the lower town hall level, harder to hit up into for the enemy. You've got the advantage of hitting down. Boom. Plus your guys that are still at the peer-to-peer level, like let's say it's 4, 2 up, 2 down on the break. These guys that are hitting peer-to-peer, if they're bad, they may miss, right? But if they're good, they won't. So I think if you're an average clan and you're just looking to do well against average clans, then .5s will help you. And you know, it'll be up to you if you want to do it. I don't think it's helping you get better. I think it's kind of like where you're taking a drug and you like the drug and you're like, man, we're really good when we do this and we win a lot and it feels good to win, but you're really not challenging your clan or your clashers to be good at what makes clans great, which is be a great attacker and have a great defense. And if you're a great attacker and have a great defense, you're going to lose because, or you won't lose because when these .5 clans come around, and I guess I'll put that down, and I'll put them in the category of fair play clans, because fair play clans are pretty serious clans usually. They really love war. And I would basically break fair play clan discussion down into two things, right? I'm going to talk about whether it should be, should they do .5 in general, and then should they do build cancel. Let me put that right here. There it is. So there's my fair play clan conversation. When you say you're a fair play clan, right? What you're aspiring to, what you're signing up for, is you're saying, I want to beat other clans on my skill. I don't want to beat you because my hammer is bigger than your hammer. I want to beat you because I wield the hammer better than you. Right? That's what fair play means. Fair play means I don't want to have an advantage due to tools or process. I want my kung fu to be better than your kung fu. At least that's my perspective on it, is what fair play means to me. So when you say I want to be a .5er, and you have in war .5s in your clan that are running, first off, and it's interesting, it's going to make it harder for you in arranged wars to match up, right? Because notice one thing about .5s. Look at the weights that .5s fall into. Let's look at these first, right down here. So notice a Town Hall 8.5 weight falls between 55 and 60-ish, right? And notice how our clan doesn't have any. And it's not for the lack of having anybody at that level, right? It's just the fact that typically, whoops, don't want to do that. Typically, the weight, as soon as if you upgrade to Town Hall 9 and you start doing your defensive upgrades, you very quickly move out of the range that Town Hall 8.5s live in. And so 8.5s will always have this weird situation with the matchmaking system of like, dude, there's nobody at my weight. So it'll make it harder unless you find a clan that's also running .5s. You're not going to find a lot of, a Town Hall, there are no Town Hall 9s that are going to be your weight because you're going to be in this weird weight, the tweener weight between Town Hall 8 and Town Hall 9. There's this weight, you're going to hang out in that area, which doesn't match. And just remember, Range Wars, it needs to have each mirror being almost like one point off is what they want, kind of, sort of, maybe 2. But if you get to where, like, look at all these guys, 6, 7, 5, that was the closest our weights were to them. So we could, if we want to do an arranged war with these guys again, the .5s would have to sit because we don't have that weight. We don't have that weight in any of our clans. Well, we might have a couple, but the point is that it's not a common weight. And the same could be said for the Town Hall 9.5 weights. Notice how they're in the 70-ish range. Whoops, yeah, they're right there. 73, 72, 76. And that's higher because he built his eye towers. But then, the same could be said on the weights for the Town Hall 10.5. Right? So one problem you have with fair play clans is, like, should you do .5s? It's going to cause, if you're a fair play clan, your goal is to do arranged wars. And arranged wars typically aren't going to be running .5 for most clans, right? So if you really want to match with other arranged war clans that aren't running .5, you're going to have a hard time doing it, and they're going to make your .5s sit anyway. So why would you have .5s? The other thing is that if you're a fair play clan, it means you really love the game, right? And you're trying to, you want the game to continue. You like playing. You enjoy playing other clans. You want to have a good experience. What does that do for if, like, you're facing an average clan that you got matched with, and this stuff, the .5 overlap happens, and so they get rolled. You walk away feeling pretty good. Your war streak continues, but that clan walks away having lost and getting rolled. And certain clashers in that clan may decide, if that happens a whole bunch of times, they're going to not play anymore. That's no good, right? That's not fun for them. So that would be the other reason why I wouldn't run .5s. I don't think it helps the community at large get better. And then lastly, the .5s again get you to focus on the wrong thing. Focusing on attack quality and defensive quality is really what wins. But if you're doing .5, you kind of get lazy because you're constantly getting matched up. Again, if you're the guy at the bottom of this half, right, you're the overlap, Town Hall 8.5, you're the ones facing 8, you're thinking you're great because you're hitting an 8 and nuking it. Or you're thinking you're great because you're holding off an 8 hitting you. Right? But in reality, when you really learn about how good your clan is when you're actually at disadvantage and you come through and still win. When you have to make your attacks be really efficient and you only have like a few misses that you can do and still close out the bases. That's when you really realize the caliber of each clasher in your clan and what people have to work on. So you trying to get an arranged or war in the matchmaking system to be in your favor really is doing you a disservice, because you want to have the challenging in matches so you can find out where you got to work for when you do have an arranged war. So that's .5 for fair play. Now for build cancel, I would say you definitely don't want to do it, right? Because I think, if you want, again, to be able to show that you beat the person not because of the hammer, but rather the skill of your using the hammer, if you do build cancel, it actually will end up giving you that sense of, again, being better than you are, and you really just need to focus on, like, well, it's one thing to build it and then let it go. Like, I think if you built it and you left it, that's fair, that's good enough, man. If you want to build it right now and throw it up, it's like the emergency button, and you leave it up, then it's good. But if you're constantly pushing the emergency button and letting it go, then it becomes like an advantage that's a continual advantage, which is bad, right? Anyway, no sense beating the dead horse. But I just think, I guess for Milita and any other clans running .5, any of the JTJ clans that have they're running .5s in their clans, I would be strongly pushing after seeing this war. It's like, dude, you just got to stop doing it. And then I guess that leads to my final point here, which is, voila. We don't think you should do .5s, and now I'm actually going to have a formal statement around build cancel, which is you can build it on prep day and leave it. I'm all good with that. But if you build it on prep day and then during the war or right after, before the next matchup, you cancel to create that same weight differential to drop the weight down. Again, like, look at this guy. Went from, he was probably at 71, right, and popped to 76 because he threw down the eye tower. And this guy was probably at like 92 something, but then he threw down the eagle, right? So instead of trying to get that weight bump on prep day, matching low and then popping high, I would say just play it out. Play it out. And that goes for all the JTJ clans. So I appreciate Shadow Milita matching up with us. They were great guys. I enjoyed playing with them. And really, it's just more of, I saw it as a aha moment for us as a clan, like, because we've been debating .5 for a long time and trying to figure out what to do about it and what was our stance about it. And I think this matchup really crystallized for me, one, why we don't want to do .5s at any levels, and two, why build cancels probably, granted, if we did them, it would be helpful, but you don't want to do them in an arranged war or in just random matches, because it's just, what do we war for? We want a war to win based on our skill. And so for any of the JTJ family, I think we want to stay away from that, and hopefully we can just win on being good, or we'll take a loss and we'll see what we can learn from it. All right, guys, I guess that wraps up what I wanted to say. Hope it helps. Ran a little long, but hey, sometimes I run long in the mouth. Otherwise, I wish you luck, and maybe I'll post these post-its in the I'll post this in the YouTube notes, maybe. All right, talk to you later.